So people ask about my background. I didn't make my full presentation myself last time, so I'm doing it now. If you're interested, originally I'm from Armenia. Made my PhD in Sweden in organic chemistry. Came to US, yeah, that's wow. Came to US, worked as a chemist for a while, then switched to software, and never regret that. So that's briefly it is. So work in different companies, mostly specializing on automation. That's my my specialty. Okay, did some development, automation, whatever. So a lot of stuff. If any particular question, please ask. Don't hesitate. Okay. We actually covered, going back to HTML, we covered this image, right? And when we observed that if we didn't specify image size correctly in HTML code, we'll get distortion. Did we see that? I believe we did that. No? No? Okay, sorry for that. So, did we cover alt attribute then? No. Okay. We have two parallel classes. That's why for me it's difficult to remember. Where we stopped actually? At the image tag? Okay. So sorry. We actually stopped at the image tag, and I believe we covered the image types, right? Different formats. We covered GIF, JPEG, and PNG. That was covered. And also we observed that we can specify, we can put image into the HTML page using IMG tag, which itself is not enough because we have to provide more information, particularly what the image we are going to put. Because in general, if you say put some image, it's not specific, right? Browser would not know what image to put into that. So we use image tag, and also we use attribute to the image tag, which is source. In this particular case, it looks like the template is the following. We say img space source, src source, and then we specify the URL, which might be HTTP whatever location, or it might be local file, whatever. So as soon as you can locate the image, that will work. This is an example of that, and the image name is code project 225 by 90 GIF in this case. So I believe we created a web page which we incorporated the image into that. Okay, so we see basically how it works. What we didn't cover is that this alt attribute, apparently. So what happens is that if the image cannot be loaded for some reason, let's generate that that condition. Actually, see that. We have HTML. Do I have say test? Let's see if this is the one. No, that's not it. That's okay. I believe we have Google test.html. Okay, my browser crashed. Sorry?
Open with instead of just open.
Yeah, I have to try that. Okay. Open. I use different browsers in this case. Yeah, let's see.
Internet Explorer.
You like Internet Explorer? Okay, let's try Internet Explorer. And also, I like to open the source code. Okay. And this browser is crazy. No, this is not it. Okay, doesn't matter. Let's create some new document, HTML document, to just illustrate the principle. So I say HTML. We have head, closing head, It's not a big deal. And then I have body. And within the body, I specify image G and then say source equals. Let's see what the images I have here. So let's say 011. I don't know what's that. Let's say 011. Then give. Okay. And after that, I'm saying closing body, and closing HTML. Okay. So in this case, I'm saving this document. Save as HTML class, C HTML class, this one. Let's say image test, start HTML, save. Okay. Now if I go to this the HTML document, open it in a browser, it's supposed to show the image. Okay, I loaded this image. This is animated GIF image, so not not animation, but this is GIF image, which interpolation of many images here. So an image is shown in a browser, no problem. But what if I specify the image either incorrectly or the image is not there? Let's see, I made a typo. Instead of say 011 GIF, I'm putting 0011. Okay, so this image does not exist in that folder. So I made a typo. Image might be displaced, might be renamed, whatever. It might be several reasons, but that just I force these error conditions now. If I save this and then try to load this HTML document again in a browser, you will see that image is not going to be shown here. Okay, and that what you are going to see, different browsers will show it differently. In some cases, you may see this rectangular with the red cross in it. In some cases, like in this particular case, you see kind of a broken image typo icon and so on, which is not good experience. Okay, so and this situation is possible because developer may forget about indicating correct image. Image might be displaced, renamed, and maybe various reasons why this image does not show up. Alternatively, if you have very slow connection and the image is big, then you'll get some experience seeing this broken image logo for an extended period of time until image is loaded. Okay, unfortunately, I cannot force this condition here because I have relatively fast connection. So what to do in this case? In this case, it would be much nicer if we don't show this broken image kind of icon to the end user, but provide alternative text. Okay, saying this is the image of a lady looking at a mirror, for example. Okay, that's what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to modify my HTML code here. This is the original code. I'm adding additional attribute, which is called alt attribute. And alt attribute contains the text, in this case saying image a lady mirror. Okay. Now this text is not shown by default if the image is loaded. Let's see that. Let's just force this condition. I save that, and then I reload this image again. And you see that in this case, I get completely different behavior. Okay, this is definitely not the same experience as seeing the image itself, but at least better than seeing this rectangle with a broken link in it. Okay, and you see that we get some debugging console also popping up. But this is actually much better than seeing nothing. Okay, so that's what the text, that's what the alt attribute does. So I can also demonstrate another example of that alt attribute is the following. Let's say I started Firefox, going to Yahoo. Oh, actually not Firefox. Let's start with the Internet Explorer. That's faster. Okay. Going to Yahoo. And if you're in the Yahoo, oh, come on. You will see a lot of images here, logos and so on, and all images are loaded and the page looks great. Okay? But I can force a browser not to show images at all. So that's what I'm going to do is just going to Tools, Internet Options, Advanced, and I'm saying don't show images to me. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. I'm forcing browser not to show images. And then if I apply that, and if I reload the page, some images will be gone. Okay, because I force browser not to show images. And when images are gone, you see the alternative text to these images. Okay, you see that Yahoo, check-in mail, for example, here some images were gone. Animation might be present, but you see Netflix free trial. Definitely, it's not replacing the Netflix image with the red pictures and so on. But this is better than nothing. Okay, better than showing this rectangle with nothing in it. So that's the effect of alt attribute to the image. So if you are working with the testing web pages, you have to pay attention to the presence of this alt attribute. Alt attribute must be there, and you are going to verify that. Okay, so how are you going to do that? That's not a statement, that's a question. Sorry? Exactly. You cannot do that manually, because if you are going to test 100 pages and each page would contain 100 images, then you are not going to test 10,000 images on the presence of the alt attribute, right? Fortunately for you, you can automate that, and fortunately it's not very difficult to do. Okay, it's maybe a script which contains maybe 5-10 lines of code will do it for you automatically. But we are going to cover that actually in the class which is called Testing Applications on the Web, not this class. So, but it is possible. So actually, you can automatically verify that the alt attribute is present. The text here cannot contain any URLs or any redirections. It should be plain text and should be informative. Okay, so you have to pay attention to that too. Okay, any questions? All clear? Okay, so this is example of the alt attributes which we see in this web page of the. It used to be one animated GIF here. Man is working at his desk, but at some moment that image is gone. Okay, for various reasons, I don't know why. And then the alt information is shown here instead of the image. Okay, another example of it. So next thing which we are going to pay attention to is image size. So what happens is that when you're creating HTML code, you have to, when you're inserting image into the HTML code, you have to specify the size of the image. That's very important, because if you specify the size, browser is going to reserve that space for you, and then when image is getting later on, then it will place into that reserved space. Okay? If you don't do that, then there is a possibility that layout will be distorted, at least for a while. Okay? So it's a very good idea to specify the image size. That's what we are going to do now. We haven't done that yet, I believe. No. Okay, so let's do that. So what we need to do is to do the following. We have to navigate to the Google. You see that this is the logo, Google logo. We have to save it locally. What you need to do is just right mouse click on this image and select save image as. Works. So when you save image as, it comes as a, in this particular case, that's a PNG format. That's okay. So we're saving, I'm saving in the CHTML class, or you can save in the CHTML. And then I save it logo 3W PNG. I already have that, but I'm overwriting it. That's okay. So what next I'm going to do is I'm going to inspect that image. So let's see, where was that? That was this one. This is the image which is saved locally. Okay. Now I right mouse click on this image, on this PNG, and select properties in the Windows. Right mouse click on the image we just downloaded and select properties. In the properties, you have to navigate to the summary tab here in order to get information about this image. And in summary tab, it says that the image width is 275 pixels and the height is 95 pixels. This is actually physical dimension of the image as is. Okay? So this is not the only way of getting it, but probably most convenient one. Okay? Got it? Did you download the image? Do you have it locally? Okay. So right mouse, click on the image and select the properties.
In properties we don't have our summary.
If you don't have summary, you should have say advanced or something like that. Advanced button.
Details.
Oh, details, yeah. Depending on operation system. Information should be there. Now, if you cannot get for some reason, you can use the information which I have, because that image is should be the same for any machine. Okay, 275 by 95. When I load this page again, when I save this and load the page again, I see the Google image loaded in the web page. Now, what happens if I modify this HTML code and specify height and width incorrectly? Because if you observe here, the height and width here specified in the HTML code matches exactly one-to-one the actual size of the image. Because if we go to the properties of the image, we'll see that it's height 95 and width is 275. But let's assume I made some typo, and instead of 275, I put 200, and instead of 95, I put 50. Okay? I had some problems here. Let's reload the page again. You'll see that the image will be distorted. Yeah. Okay? So this happens for the following reason. When we load the page, a browser first loads the HTML code. And when it loads the HTML code, it looks at the size, declared size of the image. And it reserves that rectangular. And then rectangle which I specified was 50 by 200. Okay? This is the actual size of the rectangular. And then browser reserves this rectangular 200 by 50. And then image comes later. When image comes later, it will be squeezed into that rectangular whatever is reserved. Okay? And then definitely it will be distorted. Okay? So again, that's your responsibility when you are going to test HTML pages. You have to make sure that the height and width which are declared in the HTML code matches one-to-one to actual size of the image. Again, this is not for manual testing. This is something for automation, okay? Because automation script can do that very fast, and testing say thousands of images may take a minute or two, and doing it manually may take days, okay? So, but nevertheless, this should be tested, okay? You have to pay attention to this. Okay, any questions? No, okay. Let's modify the code, bringing it to original size. Height was 95. And this is 275. Yeah. This is correct size. So even 1 pixel difference may play a role. You should not ignore it, okay? It should be one-to-one correlation between the actual size and the size declared in the HTML code. Okay, as soon as there's no questions, let's move forward then. Okay, this is actually I took another example of Yahoo logo with 232 and 44, and then if I distorted that, if I declare the actual image size incorrectly, then we get distortion of the image, which should be avoided. Okay, this is definitely a defect. Now, what we can do also, we can specify background image of the browser, so browser web page. This is done if I specify attribute to the body of the HTML code and saying background and then specify this background image. Let's do that. Let's do that in the case of Google. This is my code, and this is my body, and I'm saying background equals so what I'm going to observe here is, if I reload this page, you will see that I have simply background of all Google logos, except probably the first one, which we were, this one, the very first image, is overlap on a background. But essentially, I have background consists of many Google logos. Okay, so this is a behavior of a browser. If you specify the image, it's going to be replicated horizontally and vertically until whole page is covered with this image. Okay, basically, image is going to be replicated. Now, Google logo is not symmetric. That's why you can see here, looking at this background image, where it starts and where it ends. Okay, but if image is symmetric in both directions, then it will be essentially impossible for you to say where it actually starts and ends. And that's why it's actually a useful technique to create kind of a monotone background of the HTML pages. Okay, there's nothing to do to test, but at least you should understand how it is created and how it works. Okay, so let's move forward. When you're going to test HTML pages, you can actually have to pay attention to the following items. You have to make sure that all tags are coming in opening and closing pairs, except for several ones which do not require counterparts, like BR or HR. You have to make sure that all hyperlinks point to the valid addresses. So links are not broken, or there are no dead links. With other words, there are no dead links on a page. And make sure that all referred images are available. And besides that, you have to make sure that the alt attributes are provided, and actual sizes matching sizes which are declared in the HTML page matching sizes which are actually images they have. And then you should definitely make sure that the HTML page looks great and pleasant for human eyes. So out of these bullet points, these three items can be automated and should be automated. Basically, we have to delegate these tasks to the machines, so a machine can do that faster, more accurately, and without errors. The last one, machine cannot do that. Okay, so it means that you have to actually work for a manual QA engineer to make sure that the page looks great. Because for machine, if you put text on, say, for example, red text on the orange background or something like that, it will look ugly. But for machine, it doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't care about that completely. So, any questions about this? No. Okay. Yeah, and then we have class which is called testing applications on the web. We manually will create these scripts. I'm not going to take the ready solutions for doing all these three bullet points here. Okay, we'll cover that. So highly recommend to take that class. And then these are useful links covering HTML, references, whatever. If you forget some element, tags, whatever, how it works, here's the place to go. So what we covered is that, actually we haven't covered yet, symbols in the HTML page, different page encodings, and meta tags. We are going to cover it today, okay, in this class. So this is the end of the part 1. So let's go to the part 2. Any questions so far? No, all clear? Everything is good. Okay. So this is basically an overview of the HTML language, which covered during first class. No point of going deeper into that because you should remember this. This is a structure of typical HTML document. We've done that. We remember HTML tags, head tags, and body tags. There should be only one pair of these on the page. And then hyperlinks, how we create hyperlinks. And then what we are going to cover is more tags, display special symbols in HTML, different page encodings, meta tags, mail to URL, and anchors. So what we need to do here is that we need to create a HTML document in Notepad. Simulator would not work exactly like this. Okay. So let's create this HTML document, save it in as all files with a HTML extension, and then open it in a browser. And open in a browser, you should see that title of the browser, title in the browser title bar changed. You should see something like this is a test doc, and then if you open in Internet Explorer, it will be Microsoft Internet Explorer, or Firefox, that will be Firefox. So, with other words, when I'm using title tag here, it actually allows this text to be shown in a browser. Okay? And this is also a very important aspect to pay attention to, because you are going to test HTML pages and make sure that a title exists. If your website contains 100 pages, all pages should have title. That's a must. So why is it so important? It's actually because of this. When people bookmark your page, then the title makes its way into the page. Okay, so into this bookmark, and that text will be appearing in a bookmark. So if the title is missing or is incorrect, then bookmark also will be incorrect. Okay, so then people will have difficulties finding that particular page. So that's very important. Fortunately, search engines do not rely on the title which you specify. Okay, you can name it anyway. The most important that what context you put into your website. Now, only one title tag is allowed per page, and then title tag must contain only plain text, no nested tags and no images and no URLs. Okay, it should be plain text. Now, no questions here? Okay, let's do some small exercise. I'm going to do that, and you are going to answer it. Okay, let's see. I'm going to the Google page. Okay, and I decide to bookmark this page. So basically Control D, and then say let's go and bookmark this page. Okay, so I'll remember this page. Next time I'm going to the bookmarks, and you see that my bookmark, my Google bookmark is here. No, I didn't make a bookmark. Let's see. Did it correctly? Unsorted bookmarks. Okay. So unsorted bookmarks. Here we go. You see that I bookmarked the Google page, and the bookmark appeared with the icon. How is it possible? I'm not allowed to specify images in the title, but somehow this bookmark appeared with the image. So where is the catch? And if you see the bookmarks, you will see that Partnov School, computer schools, they also have images. But if you look at the Partnov Computer School HTML code, let's go do that. Come. If you look at the HTML code of that school site, you will see that title. I don't see title. Let's see. Let's search title.
How did you open up?
Yeah.
David?
Yes.
How did you open it up in HTML right away?
Control U.
You?
Control U. Yes, it's a code. Okay, so this is the title of the page, and this title contains only one plain text, one string. Okay, but no images and no URLs, as it should be. Okay. So how this image is actually placed to the next to your bookmark. And your bookmark on my computer, on your particular computer, cannot figure out that image, right? Because that image should come from the computer school, Partnov computer school site, okay? It's not coming from your machine, and not from internet either. So how it is possible?
How it is possible?
It is possible because there is a convention Let's see. Let's clear this. That definitely, if you have bookmarks which are coming with the images, that will be they will look nicer. It will be easier for you to distinguish, and also it will allow you to sort them accordingly. So if you have an image which is placed on the root of your directory, for example, if you have a website, say, I'm talking about the directory structure. So, for example, this is a website. That might be partnov.com. And then you have some folders like images. And then you have some folder which is called HTML elements. And so on. So your website is organized this way. But you have a root directory here. And if you put an image in the root directory, which we'll call favicon, its name should be favicon. That's a rule. Okay, and the extension, type of the image will be ICO. It's another image format. Then this image will be placed when you make a bookmark of the site. Okay, that's a convention. Okay, so if you create this image, name it like this, and that should be a very small image, and then name it that this way, and put in the root of this website directory, then this image will be placed next to your bookmark. Okay, which is very interesting and very good, right? So allow to do that. So as a QA engineer, you have to verify that too. The company site has favicon ICO, and it's located on the root directory. Otherwise, when people are going to make bookmark your page, this icon will not be there. Okay. Okay, let's go back to. Okay, this is about the title tag. You have to give very descriptive name to the title, and then long and non-descriptive titles should be avoided because otherwise browser will trim them, and then trimmed will be on a predicted place. Okay, so basically long title will be cut short. So that by browser. So for example, here are examples of the list of bad examples. Title is not specified at all. So what's the point of specify title tag if you are not going to specify value for that? Okay. So some HTML document is not descriptive. Naturally, it's HTML document because we have HTML code here, right? An example is also not good case because example of what is not descriptive. This one might be descriptive, but it's long. Okay, might be actually information contained here is correct and belongs to that page, but this title is too long. What will happen in reality is that browser may trim this title somewhere here. So it might be, say, Rodriguez, who was also fined as undisclosed amount, WA, and that will be end of the title. Okay, so which is not good, but that's the way it is. Browser does not like long titles, and it will trim it. Okay, because it doesn't have unlimited space on the title bar. Okay, so you have to pay attention to that too. That's another area to test. This should be done manually, and then again, HTML page, not big deal. Okay, so definitely it's an HTML page. Otherwise, you are not using tags. So good examples are introduction to photography, USM map, a voice over IP installation step 1, 2, 3, and 4, whatever. So every single page should contain a title. So more tags which we are going to cover are the followings: U, S, I, and B. Let's create this document and see how it will look like. Okay, let's do that. I like to cite the Latin phrase and then provide the translation. So I'm using block quote. So let's try to do this. You can modify existing HTML code. You don't need to create a new document. Essentially, you don't need HTML and body. Start from block quote and ending here. See what effect it will have.
That one?
Yeah. Okay. So essentially, what happens is that we get a quotation of the phrase which is encapsulated in a block quote. block quote is going to be obsolete in the future, and I believe it's omitted in HTML5. But the queue is actually is going to work on most of the browsers. Okay, so instead of block quote, if you use queue, then this phrase will be kind of quoted, okay, automatically. We are going to cover that in a sec. Okay. Yeah. Essentially is that if you like to quote something, you have to use Q tags. If you are going to analyze HTML code and see block quote, pay attention to the developers. Okay, so you know that might be obsolete in the future. So let's change it to Q. Okay, that's a safer way of doing that. So, okay, let me create this document then. This is 19. Okay, let's see. Image test. So this is how it appears in Mozilla Firefox. You see that the phrase in Latin is actually indented and kind of has the effect of quoting it. Okay, so if I use instead of block quote, I'm using Q tag, Q, and here's the Q. Then it's going to look differently. What I did, I actually encapsulated this phrase in double quotes. Okay. Now the question was, why can't we directly use double quotes? And we're going to that. Okay, in a sec. Not there yet. Any questions? Works okay? Everyone sees that? Okay, as soon as there's no questions, let's move forward. Next element which we are going to cover is a meta element, which actually can do remarkable stuff for us. First of all, meta element can give us possibility to provide more information about the document. Remember when we having a title tag, I said, you know, if you like to put long text like Rodriguez, remember that Ivan Rodriguez, we could not do that in a tag, but meta element allows you to put this annotation into the HTML page. So it has several attributes, HTTP equivalent, name, and content. And here is the example of that case when we like to put annotation about the page, but we could not do that in the title tag. But in a meta element, we can do that. I say meta name, and then we have description, and then the content, and then you put whatever you like to here. So this might be useful in a quick search within the company. For example, if you like to create annotations about web pages, and then you can save this instead of saving the whole page, you can search, save this part annotation and search by annotations. Okay, that might be very useful in some situations. Also, what another important aspect of the meta element is that it can provide keywords describing your website. So when this came from, it came from historically when search engines started to evolve. And I remember the Yahoo, when they started their business, it has the page looked completely different than from now. But Yahoo, when they started their business, they had a text field pretty much like a Google has today, and it's a big green arrow button next to that text field. And the text above this text field says, if you have any web page which you like to submit for our catalog, please do that. So what users did, actually, they went into that text field, fill out the URL of the web page, press that green button, and maybe in a day or two, the Yahoo responded saying, you know what, we added your page in our catalog. That's how it was working in '95 at least. So with the time, they realized they cannot cope with a huge amount of web pages which are actually growing like mushrooms here there, and they had to automate this process somehow. And then even besides that, even before going into the submission idea, Yahoo was actually very good at categorizing all pages. So what they come with the system is that, which actually describes all content on the internet divided into 14 major categories. They came up with the system and they say, okay, they proposed the system saying, you know what, everything which appears on the internet can be put into one of the 14 major categories, which are politics, sports, science, whatever. Okay, 14 major categories. You could see these categories not long ago in Yahoo, but nowadays they are gone. Okay, they are not showing anymore. But before, you can actually look at these categories and drill down later further on. For example, if you're looking some kind of classes in computer science, definitely you go to the science and then drill down to technology, science, and technology until you find this web page. Now, going back to the submission, is that they realized that the submission should be automated. Okay, but say they cannot cope with the huge amount of data or new URLs which users submitted on an everyday basis. So because initially it was done manually, people were sitting saying, okay, this is the page, we're visiting this page, and this is page, for example, about dealing about photography, dealing about the fishing or skydiving or whatever. Okay, whatever information, I mean, whatever your subject it covers. Now, but later on they realized they cannot cope up with that huge amount of data coming, so they try to automate that process. But computers actually are very bad at that, okay? Because in order to automate that completely, computers should know about the outside world. Because give a certain words, they may have a completely different meaning depending on context. For example, if I say Polish, for you it's not clear what I'm talking about until I continue, right? When I say I polish my car, then you're talking you realize that I'm talking about cleaning my car and waxing, whatever. If I'm saying I love Polish sausages, then you realize that I'm talking about the Polish sausages, which might be good. Some people are crazy about that. And if I'm talking about the Polish nationality, then you realize that I'm talking about a person who came from Poland, right? So computer does not know that. In order for computer to recognize which Polish I'm talking about, you have to teach computer about geography, about sausages, about cars polishing, which is not realistic, okay? Because the number of such words which dual or triple different meanings are huge, okay? So what Yahoo suggested is that if user provided a kind of a clue what this page is talking about, then it will be much easier for a computer to make a choice. Because if you actually push the computer to the right direction, that will be easier for a computer. And that push is actually came in the form of the keywords. For example, if computer reads these keywords here, which is shown in the meta elements, then it's pretty clear and obvious that we are talking about digital images, talking about video clips, online preview, film development, whatever. Something to do with the photography and digital images. Okay? So for a computer, it will be much easier to find out what this page is about and then put an appropriate page in the catalog so everyone will be happy. That's how it was done initially. And then the results of the catalogizing the website was heavily dependent on these meta elements. Okay? So that's why every user was suggested, highly recommended, to provide the meta elements to their pages. Okay? And these meta elements should be provided on every single page on a website. Now, this is actually a good idea, but some bad people came into the picture, and they started to abuse this image, these keywords. Okay? They actually started to put keywords which were not describing what their site was doing. Okay? So just to increase their attractability or do some business, whatever. Okay? So they actually compromised the whole idea. I'm not saying that all users on the internet are had bad intentions, but some people actually who came with these intentions, they actually compromised the whole idea. So as a result of that, search engines, you rely on the meta elements less and less. It's not completely zero valued, but how much attention they pay to the key elements present, I don't know. Okay, and very few people know, actually, to be honest. Okay, so what happens with the time is now search engines are created automated programs that are called robots, which constantly visiting website every day, not every day, but very frequently, and then grabbing the content of the web page automatically and sending it back to the server, and server analyzes them. Server checks how often the content of the page changes and how often the page is up and running, because all this information is actually contribute to the fact where in the search engine's results your page will pop up. Okay, it's very important. So if you set up a server, how often you'll be visited by Google, for example? Any idea?
Every second.
Every 2 days. Every other day you'll be visited by Google. Okay, that I'm saying from my own experience. Okay, so it means that Google will visit your page or your website once in 2 days, an average. Okay, and what they will check is that check if the page is actually, it will grab all the information about your page, including these meta elements. Yes, making sure it's up and running, because if your page is intermittently down, then it's a very bad thing. Okay. And then all this process of catalyzing now almost fully automated, okay? And key elements plays very little role, but nevertheless it plays some role. So as a result of that, if you are going to analyze web pages of your company, please make sure that meta elements are specified not on the first page, but every single page. These elements are not shown in a browser window because meta element is placed in a head part, not in a body part, and as such they are not shown. But search engines and servers do see that, okay, and browsers too. Any questions? No, all clear? So this is a description of that what we already told about that. Next thing which we are going to talk is mail to URL, which was very popular before, but nowadays it's kind of out of use. So let's go and create this page. We can copy and paste from the presentation and see how it will look like. You see that behavior? If you click on the link, you see that application is invoked. Do you see that? Or that works only in theory? You should test it. Everything you create something, you have to test it. You don't have to, because it's in a computer it's already specified what is your default email application. If it's not specified, then it probably would not work. Okay, but most probably it is, because when you establishing internet connection for the first time, you have a dialog box. Probably you haven't done that because that's a school machine. But for the first time, it gives you prompt which browser you like to use, which email application you're using, which whatever. It's maybe 6 or 7 items in a list, and one of them is just default email application. Okay, and the browser actually computer automatically detects what program you have. Most probably that will be Outlook, and then it automatically assigns to that. That's what happens. Okay, if it's not invoked, then maybe it's not specified, but that's not the end of the world. Okay. The question is that why don't we see these links anymore on the web pages? If you navigated the internet, you probably would not see this send me email link anymore. And the reason is,
Maybe there are some programs that can go and collect these emails.
exactly. So we have robots which are browsing internet all the time, and the most active ones probably in Google and Yahoo ones. But no one prevents you from writing your own robot. It would not take much time, space. You have to have a lot of disk space on your machine. That's a different story. But you can write your own, and then that robot will browse the internet constantly and analyze this HTML page. Because what robots see, they see HTML page completely, with the head, with the body, whatever, all parts. And then you can instruct these robots to look for address tag. And whatever comes between the opening address and closing address will be automatically grabbed and sent you. Okay? So you can have a huge database of email addresses, assuming that people are still using them. And then someday you may start your own server and send spam. Okay, so yeah, that's how it works. That's why people like to protect their privacy and not try to publish their own information. And that's actually not only private individuals, but the companies as well. Sometimes it's very difficult to find company email address or phone number. Okay, very difficult. What they offer instead, they offer you web chat, or kind of a chat. You can chat with the representative, but not place a call. The reason is that a call to the call center is expensive. If it lasts less than a minute, it costs $5. More you talk, more money it will cost to the company. Okay, so imagine that. If you make a mistake, I'm on a web page, and they'll have a lot of angry customers, then you're going to lose a lot of money because a lot of people will call you. Okay, the company tries to not publish that information and offer you chat service, which is actually more preferential because you can evenly distribute the load on the chat, and the next available technician will immediately jump in, and then it may take a while, but you are not going to place on the phone. On the phone and forced to listen to some music, okay, over there, which might be irritating if it lasts more than 10 minutes. Okay, so that's the reason for that. We don't see this address tag anymore, and we have. This is how it will look like, but it was very popular, let's say, 15 years ago. Okay, until people started to abuse that. And then what it does, it activates your default email application, open new email template, and populate mail to and subject fields because we specify that. We can also provide information for CC fields, BCC fields, also some default text as shown here. You can have different versions of that. You can also provide the body, message in a body. You can provide new lines, whatever. It's very complicated, but no one is using them today. Okay, very few people are using them. Okay. Author information and the DT stamp. This is also a very important piece of information on the web page, which handles time-sensitive information. Okay, so quite often you visit the web pages, and at the bottom you see this phrase, last modify, and then you have this statement there. Okay. Now, fortunately, this is done automatically. You don't need to do it manually. It can be done with JavaScript. But why they do that? Why do we have this information put here at the end of the page? This is a copyright issue, exactly, because it handles time-sensitive information. If you publish something, that's the only way to prove that you are the author of it, because copyright is not handled by U.S. Trade and Patent, what's called? Trade and Patent Office, yeah, Trademarks and Patent Office. Okay, copyright is handled individually, and if you publish something, and then you definitely have to put date and timestamp, so no one can come and claim that piece of work after you. Okay, so, and why is it so important?
So you can know when it was updated last time.
Exactly, because you will get some royalties or whatever, some money for your master work, right? And how long can you cover that? How long can you collect this money from your publication? Okay, until you die. The next option.
10 years?
10 years? No.
Forever.
75 years after your death. Okay, so it means that your children and grandchildren will benefit from that. It also means that you can publish freely Shakespeare works, okay, because Shakespeare died long ago, okay. You cannot put your name in front of the title, but you can freely publish it and get money from that, okay, for your publication. It's possible because that's called basically copyright is expired. This is actually in contrast to the patent, which is valid for 20 years, okay, in this country. Okay, so the different approaches. Anyway, that's why it's important, and if you're handling time-sensitive information, definitely this should be placed on the web page, at the end of the web page, okay? Pay attention to that as well. So we're going to cover more HTML. We'll cover tags. We didn't cover display of special characters in HTML and different page encodings because we are going to see pages in different languages, and that should be handled accordingly. Meta tags, we covered that. Mail to URL covered. Anchors not covered. Let's go ahead and this is input elements, which I believe we covered in the previous class, right? It should not be here in the first place, correct? We covered input elements. Yeah. So next we're going to talk about special characters in HTML. And the question is, what is the special characters in HTML? That's a question, not statement. Sorry? Short abbreviations.
Symbols like Chinese characters or something like that.
Okay, say Unicode characters. Okay. Is angle bracket special character? Yes, because it's reserved for the tags, right? Question mark? Nah. Okay. But forward slash definitely yes, right? So now, in order to answer this question, you have to ask another question. Say why these characters are making special ones. Why they are special? In which way they are special, right? In order to answer this question. When we are talking about special characters, we are talking about the special precautions we have to take care, we have to make in order to show these characters correctly in the HTML page. That's what special means. They require special attention. It's not kind of that we are weird or we are seeing the Chinese hieroglyphs and so on, but because if you like to make sure that it definitely appear the way they should, we have to take special measures. That's what it means. Okay? Now, it turns out that it's much easier to say which are not special characters in HTML than what they are. So, upper and lowercase letters are not special characters. Numbers are not special characters. These symbols, $, dash, underscore, dot, and plus are not special characters. The rest are. Okay? The rest of the characters are special characters. Okay? So what it means that if, for example, I like to show forward slash or backslash or double quote or single quote, I have to take special measures so they will appear. It does not mean that if I use quote, it does not appear on a page, but in order to be guaranteed that it will appear, I have to take special measures for that. That's what it means. Okay? So because some people saying, you know, I put double quote and that appeared. Results are unpredictable. It may show, maybe not, okay, unless you take special measures for that. So in order to understand how browsers are taking care of the characters, we have to, that's what the explanation of what I already said, we have to look at how symbols are stored in the machines, and then we skip this. Quite often when you navigate to the URL, you see this %20 symbol in the URL part, okay? And you never probably ask that question, what this %20 means. And then this %3f means question mark, and this 2f means forward slash, and so on. And the URL may look like this. This is an example of that, %20, whatever, in the URL. But you probably never ask that question, what the heck this %20 came from. We come to these questions later on. And our next thing which we like to do is we like to show these characters which definitely exist in the computer but do not exist on your keyboard. Okay, we like to do that as well. Okay, we like to show these symbols on an HTML page. Now, in order to understand how we can do that, let's look at the characters, how they store in a Microsoft operating system, and this is the actual table of these characters, the way they appear in the Microsoft Windows operation system. So all characters are placed in a table, and the cells going from 0 to 255. And by 255 we have, because we have bit, and then there are, say, 8 bytes in, we have 8 bits in a byte, and then we store characters. Character code is stored in a byte. So say 8 once translates into 255 in the decimal notations. Okay, so this table actually consists of 2 parts. First part, which is ranging from 0 to 127 up to this character, is absolutely required for computer to operate. If you remove any character from this range between 0 and 127, computer operation system cannot operate anymore. Okay? The rest of the symbols are optional. With other words, all symbols from 128 all to 55 are optional. If you change that, modify them, computer will still be able to operate. Okay? Next question is, where are symbols between 0 and 32? Right? Why they are not shown here? Okay? These are special symbols which we never see on the keyboard, but nevertheless they are important because, for example, if we have symbol 7 here, every time we like to print that symbol 7, the computer produces sound. The beep which comes from the computer is produced by printing this character 7. Okay, it's not visible. We definitely can have cell with a ring bell here, but it's not done that way. Okay, we have also character 10 and 13, which actually mark the end of the line. Every time you type something in the editor, you press Enter key, that character is inserted into the text. This text is not visible, this character is not visible, but it's present in the text. Okay, so and things like that. Okay, the very first character here is 32, is empty space. It's a space character. I cannot show it here, and they could not do either. So, but that's what it is. So this is an empty space. Every time you put a space bar, this character is inserted, and then exclamation mark and so on. Okay. So, and after that we have characters from 65, which is a capitalized A, B, C, D, and so on. And this all the way to 127, which are reserved characters here. The rest are not important for the operation system. Now, next thing which we like to do, for example, I like to show this character, which is plus minus here, which is 100. Let's see, which is that? 177 probably. Yeah, which has a code 177, and I like to be able to show that on my HTML page. Okay, what I can do, I can use its Ascii code. This is the code of the character directly in the HTML page. So what I need to do here, I need to specify its decimal value 177, and if I use its numeric reference in HTML code, this character will be shown. Okay, let's illustrate that. Okay, I use several of them, and if I load this character in a HTML page, you'll see that I have several plus minuses appearing as is. Okay, so and here's the code for that.